It's almost like they have like a playbook that they use against us, and like the local news keeps the population dumb on these tactics.
Yeah.
Gated against the black community in this country is horrifying, and we have to acknowledge it. Defunding the police is not the answer. Funding
Fuck
the police,
off.
Better trained cadets.
Oh my
Funding
God.
the police.
Oh my, here we go. Fun Cop City. Fuck yourself.
Yes.
You know,
21st century strategies.
This is the U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this Democratic Presidential Forum.
Yeah, so we actually got something. We actually got something that talks about Democratic people.
Start big picture. Many Democrats, not just President Biden, are worried about all of your candidacies simply hurting President Biden.
look who's doing
Nothing
it,
more.
though. Isn't it funny?
Congressman Phillips,
News Nation,
Democratic
yeah.
Senator John Fetterman described your candidacy as a dream.
Not the
for
best
Donald
source.
Trump. Is that a concern of yours? You have 60 seconds.
Well, with all due respect to Senator Fetterman, the dream for Donald Trump is Joe Biden. And I think my associates
fuck is
Hank
that?
and Marianne would agree. We are actually not united in opposition to one another. We are united in opposition to Donald Trump.
Give me a
When the
name.
clock's on screen. They really don't want them
Among
talking.
senators and members of Congress that somehow we are hurting Joe Biden.
They literally didn't introduce these people. That's so funny. How are
Yeah.
you that bad? Newsmax is so bad.
It's News Nation.
That's the same fucking thing, bro.
But yeah, they didn't even introduce them.
Joe Biden has hurt his chances, and the reality is it's a dream come true for Donald Trump. Just want to make that clear to everybody watching.
Ms. Williamson, are you worried about your candidacy simply helping Donald Trump?
No, I absolutely agree with what Dean Phillips just said.
Hey, we finally got a name.
The three of us agree. It is more significant than where we disagree. What we agree about is that the Democrats are sleepwalking to disaster in 2024. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion.
He doesn't know what
This
to do
will
with
be
his
much
hands.
more like 2016 than the race of 2020.
What do I do with my
And the
hands?
Democratic elite are as blind now as they were in 2016 to what's going on in this country. And they think that they can just will themselves into the White House, and it doesn't work that way. There's a rumbling out there in this
What's your book
country,
name?
and it is not responding to what the Democrats are offering. And I think
Do you reckon the other guy, the random dude that nobody knows?
Like, she's always
I know you're not worried
kind of
about
vocabulary shit.
Yeah, you reckon the random dude that nobody knows about is also selling a book?
I
Wouldn't that be
don't.
funny?
I only have heard that he's running as well, but I don't know anything about him. What the thing is about this is that if you're not getting junk to be yelling, nobody's gonna vote for him.
Yeah, true.
We need the insanity.
You need the
Fired
anger,
up
yeah.
drunkenness
Mm-hmm.
to get
I
it
agree.
going. Like, he needs to start yelling.
Either. No sitting president has lost.
What do you think, the lizard people are in charge? Is that what you think?
Challenger in modern U.S. history, right? And unlike Congressman Phillips and Ms. Williamson, you're on a very limited number of ballots. You're not even mentioned in a lot of major polls. Realistically, lay out for me how you have a path to victory.
Right. So there's a lot of parts to this answer. First of all, strong
Listen, guys.
primaries give you strong candidates. So back in 2016, the Republicans had the toughest primary anybody's ever seen, and they won. In 2020, the Democrats had 27 people in the race, and they won. So the more voices there are in the Democratic Party against Donald Trump and in favor of Democratic policies, the better the Democratic Party does. So every one of us is helping the Democratic Party become stronger. If Joe Biden was here, let's be honest, about 10 times as many people would watch, and 10 times as many people would hear Democratic policies, Democratic arguments, and arguments against Trump. For me personally, I'm a naturalized citizen, and I'm fighting for the rights of 24 million naturalized citizens.
Doesn't that mean you can't run?
I think he got approved,
Interesting.
but that doesn't necessarily, it doesn't. It's not like he's actually going to be on ballots.
Sure, but
I don't
doesn't
know.
that open the floodgates?
I don't know. I know that Anna did a story about it. He's not sitting right next to it. It's like in South Park where they give Al Gore the trophy and he's just standing there breathing right next to it, waiting to be given the trophy. That's what I imagine it was like.
Citizens. And the 14th Amendment says that we have equal protection and due process rights. And so we're in a protected class, just like gender, race, gender identity, et cetera. And we're going to prove in court, and we're going to the circuit court. We're appealing in South Carolina right now as we speak. and we're going to win that case. And once we do, think about it this way.
Time.
Dan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to come back to that issue about the 14th Amendment, et cetera. But Ms. Williamson, let me ask you the same question. This is your second run for the White House. You ran in 2020. You pulled out before the first primary last time. You're in a crowded field. You've got about 6% support right now in the Democratic.
No, when a PI cast it, I was at 13%.
All right, whatever the number, it's a minimal number.
70% Joe Biden. That's
you hear that? He's like, what? No, I was at 13% in this poll. He's like, whatever the number, it sucks. Nobody likes you.
Are totally neck and neck with, let's say, Nikki Haley. Hers is called a surge. Mine is just another reason to erase or invisibilize. So no, I'm not enrolled in your
because
idea.
Donald Trump might go to prison.
Mainstream media.
Yeah, exactly.
So can you? It's like, guess what? We got an even more worthless debate for you. You think the comments are like, why is this? What is the point of this?
Says amazing debate, great format, refreshing to hear these three talk. Seems like a lot of support.
FCC registered qualified candidate, given how I've been erased, given how I've been mocked on the presidential stage, given how I've been smeared, I think I'm doing really well, actually. And that continuation of those double digits.
But it's literally the people who are like on their campaign.
Politics is that I'm speaking what needs to be said.
Okay.
Our political system is so riddled with illusion and lies and injustice. Someone simply lays down
dirty
what the American people are saying, which is contrary to what the political elite is saying. That's a victory in and of
Let's talk about the political elite, Congressman. The DNC is telling people in New Hampshire, where you've been spending a lot of time, that it's really meaningless because they're not going to count the delegates anyway. So they're saying this is all for nothing. Even if they're wrong in what they're doing, do they have a point that you're sort of wasting your time in New Hampshire?
Oh, my goodness. None of the three of us are wasting our time. In fact, I'm sitting next to two Americans of great courage and great conviction, and we should celebrate participation right now. The fact that the party we represent,
I already am eating from the trash can all the time.
Primary is meaningless. That would actually require a letter from the state of New Hampshire back to the Democratic National Committee to cease and desist because it is the unlawful suppression of
the fact that they're explaining about like how technically this, technically that, like, come on.
And by the way, Florida, North Carolina, too, it's the same thing. So the answer is no, it's not meaningless. In fact, I think New Hampshire is going to change the entire trajectory of this entire race.
Mr. Uyghur, I want to ask you the first question from one of our viewers, 30 seconds. This is Elizabeth from Texas. She says, you're not supporting our president against what will be a pro-autocracy opponent, no matter who the Republican nominee may be. If you are true servant leaders, wouldn't you put everyday Americans more than your own failed ambitions?
Lol.
Okay, well, that's a nice question. So here's the deal, guys.
Hey, listen, guys. He fucking did it, bro. He fucking, get him heated.
No incumbent.
You can't give junk 30 seconds. You gotta prod him and get him fired.
Yeah.
Any federal office, it's already over. What we're trying to do is snap you out of it. Because
come on.
I think democracy is on the line. And these folks are canceling elections and primaries when their tagline is democracy is on the line. No, there's no way Joe Biden can win. He is 19 points lower than when he won last time. 19 points. Wake up. He's definitely going to lose. You need another candidate, a strong candidate that's going to fight for you.
Yes, they got him. He's taking it. He's not accepting the clock running out. This is what I'm talking about. It would be really funny to actually get him in a real debate. It would be so good. It would be so funny.
Yeah, it really would. It would be a fucking
and not like a fucking like ideology debate, a fucking debate for president, because those are the funny ones.
Yeah.
You differ most from President Biden.
President Biden is trying to alleviate the stress of millions and millions of Americans who are living at the effect of an unjust economy.
Whoa. Did Junk only get 30 seconds and she gets a minute?
No.
It takes so long to talk.
But only until the point to go any further would challenge the profit maximization goals of the donor and billionaire class. We need fundamental economic reform. We need universal health care. We need tuition-free college and tech school. We need guaranteed living wage. We need guaranteed sick pay. We need paid family leave. We need a fundamental economic U-turn in this country. And the president is taking this incremental approach to making things better for people whose lives are suffering. 39% of Americans now say
they still aren't like telling you who any of the, they can't even like put up a name.
Yeah, no name tag.
Like
nothing.
before, like if you look at the Republicans debate, they'll always be like, governor this.
Yeah,
Senator
always.
that.
Yep.
The majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. The majority of Americans cannot afford a $500 unexpected expenditure, and the president is saying the economy is doing well.
Well, I'm going to get back to another question on the economy. Congressman Phillips, same question to you. What is the issue?
Hopefully she does.
Well, you mean the whole election against Biden? That's what you want?
All of it. I hope she does, because
that'll be great for Palestine.
Yeah, well, it doesn't seem like
you hear
Biden's
that? Jackson, Nikki Haley supporter, everyone. He's come out of the closet.
It doesn't seem like Biden's doing much anyway. So
I did everything right, and they indicted me.
Yeah, at this point, it's just more of the same. So, yeah, she's younger, first female president.
Okay, Jack. Uh-huh.
She's not a decrepit fossil.
Zanga. Ferret.
Yeah, always helps.
Could you give us some of your political beliefs?
Kill everyone now. Condone first-degree murder.
President Biden saved our country, and he's made investments in America. That's what the CHIPS Act was, the infrastructure bill. I salute that. I voted for it. I helped market it. But what he has not done is invest in Americans.
Nikki Haley gives more guns to Ukraine.
Education, food and fuel so expensive. We have a crisis of costs.
I want to know how many fighter jets are going to Ukraine. That would determine my vote. Whoever's going to give
more, whoever has more.
Yeah, whoever is going to give Ukraine a nuclear submarine. They can borrow them from AUKUS. So you can
just put it in the Black Sea.
Yeah, I mean it won't be armed, but it'll just be an AUKUS sub, and it will be they'll just run it with Ukrainian crew. It'll be
in 2025.
It'll be a mixed crew of like Brits, Americans, and Ukrainians.
That makes sense.
And then they can have a sub there, and then they can shoot missiles. And be like, no, that wasn't us. No, but they can like deploy special forces out of the torpedo tubes. Have you seen them do that? Where they shoot people out of the torpedo tubes?
It's cool.
He's actually listening. And I think it's time that Democrats do. And I'm afraid that President Biden is at a stage where he has lost the ability to legitimately listen. In fact, where is he? I know he probably couldn't be here today, but to tell the country that he will not debate a single time in a Democratic primary of such consequence, that's perhaps the biggest point of differentiation between him, Cenk, Marianne, and me, is showing up.
Mr. Uygur, same question to you. Where is the area where you differ most from President Biden?
So at this point, it's Israel and Gaza, but I'm sure we're going to come back to that.
No, please feel free to.
So, yeah, I mean,
that's the issue.
Yeah, he's been monstrous on that. So he's.
The Zionists next to him are heating up. Their heads are going to pop.
Kill innocent Palestinians, 23,000.
Here we go.
Enough. How much are they going to kill? With our money? I don't want my money to go kill Palestinian children. So that's point one. Point two, on the policies.
Civilians were killed, and that's what we're going to continue to try to do.
Actually do a lot of these things. So the infrastructure, no problem. Great. Credit where credit.
I look forward to actively engaging civilians.
But in terms of the policies that he promised, $15 minimum wage. He said it was a bare minimum. He threw it under the bus immediately. Paid family leave polls at 84%, and he won't fight for it. If you can't get something passed that's at 84%, you're not a very good politician. Public option, he didn't even propose it. Why did you? So honestly,
come on.
Congressman Phillips, do you agree with Mr. Uygur about Israel? He says that the president's policy has been a disaster.
I think, Dan, two things can be true at once. I have great affection for Israel. It is the only majority Jewish nation in the entire world. When the first boats left Europe at the dawn of the Holocaust and came to this country, we turned them away. I'm a Jewish man. I intend to be the first Jewish president in American history who signs documents recognizing a Palestinian state. I care deeply about my Palestinian brothers and sisters like I do my Israeli brothers and sisters. I think two things can be true at once. Democrats can support Israel and Democrats can support Palestinians. I think we should transcend all of this by favoring humanity. And that's who I am. I will fiercely defend Israel, and I will fiercely defend the recognition of a Palestinian state and self-determination.
But Ms. Williamson, Mr. Uygur,
they referenced the Protocols of Elder Zion. I mean, I wrote that book. That's a great book.
Phillips is saying. Is your position that Mr. Uygur is right, that the president's policies have been a disaster, or do you generally support what President Biden has been doing with regard to Israel?
I'm with Dean Phillips on this. Our highest allegiance must be to humanity itself. As I appreciated the president's moral clarity on October 7th, but we needed a lot more moral clarity about what has been shown to the Palestinians since then. I do not agree with this war. I don't think it's good for Israel. I don't think it's good for the Palestinians. As evil as the events of October 7th were, I do not believe that this war is justified. We need an immediate ceasefire.
Whoa.
That even before
Whoa, no way. Marianne Williamson, the first one to be like, yeah, we need a ceasefire. What a turn. Whoa. I did not see that coming.
You didn't?
No.
Why would she not say that?
This is the big thing that she was arguing with Hassan about was Israel. She's huge Zionist, bro.
Interesting. So what? She's just sort of turned face and
she literally was like, I don't agree with killing the people the way we're killing them. But October 7th was wrong. They're literally now Junk is there like, oh wait, I don't have a unique position on this.
The Jews. I don't think he's good for Israel. I don't think he's good for us. I don't think that the president of the United States should be in Netanyahu's pocket the way he is. And we need the release of the hostages, and we need to immediately get about the architecture of it.
I want to make sure that you agree with that, Congressman Phillips. Do you agree that Netanyahu is in the pocket of President Biden?
No, that Biden is in the pocket.
Sorry, that Biden is in the pocket of Netanyahu, and that there needs to be an immediate ceasefire?
I think what Marianne just said about the immediate release of hostages.
That I agree, but I'm asking the other question.
But this is really important because it's not getting enough news coverage. There are 8 American citizens being held hostage by Hamas in Gaza right now.
Dodging the question.
When's the last time 8 Americans have been held without the president of the United States, morning, noon, and night, talking about it, trying to extract them, and using diplomacy to get them out?
What's the solution?
The solution is using every single tool available to us.
What does that mean?
That means it could mean special forces to extract them. It could be using our
U.S. special forces?
Possibly, if there's a plan. But most importantly is this, Dan. It is to elevate the case. The president's job is to defend this country first and foremost, and we are not defending Americans when they're being held hostage. You asked me the question about being in the pocket. No, I don't think either one of these men is in the pocket of one another. I do not think Benjamin Netanyahu is a proficient leader for Israel, a country I care deeply about. I think he is part of the problem. I hope Israelis, because they are the only democracy in the Middle East, I hope Israelis make the choice to change their government as soon as humanly possible, because the settlement policy
this is like wild
is going to ultimately lead to the destruction of Israel.
Let me get to something that's happened in the news now.
So like it's so funny because here's the thing, because they like you have to think about how like these people have staff to recognize certain things, right? So they're looking at like the most people who are like breaking away from Biden on the left. It's because of what's going on right now in Palestine, right? So because they're shifting to this stance where Biden is wrong, the war is wrong, and a ceasefire needs to happen.
Yeah.
Like it's going to pull more people to give them money.
True. It's not a bad play.
In Yemen yesterday, Mr. Uygur. Some of your fellow Democrats in Congress have been condemning President Biden for what he views, and many Republicans and many others view, as a response to attacks on U.S. vessels, et cetera. Do you believe that the Democrats who are saying that the president has no right to respond in this way are correct?
So what I'm really concerned about is the widening of the war. Israel's now bombing in Lebanon. The Houthi rebels are bombing.
They're always bombing Lebanon.
Only headed to Israel, going through the Red Sea. And now we're beginning to bomb the Houthi rebels. How big is this war going to get? I am not going to Iran. If there's any Democrat talking about going to Iran, you're nuts. So I'm not going to tolerate any broadening of this war. We shouldn't send taxpayer dollars to it.
So
they should go around the Red Sea and it raises costs 10%. So what? So we're going to go kill people for 10% extra profit for corporations?
Just to be clear, so they shouldn't be responding. The U.S. should not be responding.
If the Houthi rebels attack a U.S. ship, then we are allowed to respond.
Okay.
But if they're saying, oh my God, it's slowing down trade. Do you know what it's called? It's called Operation Prosperity, Guardian of Prosperity. No, prosperity means you're protecting capital and profits. I'm not starting a war for 10% extra
I want to give you each 15 seconds to respond, Ms. Williamson.
The Houthis are attacking those ships in retaliation for the fact that Israel is bombing Gaza. The way to get that to stop is to stop bombing Gaza.
That sounds like you're justifying what the Houthis are doing. You're basically saying you're saying they are doing this in response to Israel.
But that's true.
They are responding to the fact that Israel is bombing Gaza. That's why they're doing
it.
Stated intent. We should not be supporting the bombing of Gaza at this point.
But this is where I think there's an area of distinction. And Congressman Phillips, you haven't really been entirely clear on this. Do you disagree with Ms. Williamson and Mr. Uygur on this issue? And specifically,
here's the issue, though. If they stop bombing Gaza and the Houthis keep attacking ships, then is it okay to bomb them?
And because I'm the ranking member of the Middle East Subcommittee on Foreign Affairs, I know who the Houthis are, and that's an Iranian proxy group. That's a threat to the entire region. The fact is they are attacking maritime ships in the Red Sea. We, the United States...
It's a UN approved mission.
A warning that we would act if they continue doing this, and I support the Biden administration. It became time that we respond. The Houthis are an Iranian proxy designed to cause the very mayhem in the Middle East that is occurring right now.
Everyone's going to stick around. We're still ahead. We've got a lot more issues to cover, including the southern border, which was raised. What do they think?
Correction. He hasn't been. And so for a judge to just...
should Donald Trump be kept off the ballot? Hey, they finally picked it up. They finally got names. Well done. You finally figured it out.
Somebody was probably calling in being like, who are these people?
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
We could indict him 91 more times. He could be in prison. People are going to vote for him. Anything we do to try to obstruct Donald Trump, this is not the way we're going to win in 24. We're going to win in 24 by offering the American people a better life, by cutting the cord with an aberrational chapter of American history that has denied most people the promises of democracy. We'll beat him on the issues. Let us not beat him in court.
Mr. Uygur, same question. Do you think that Donald Trump should be kept off the ballot because of the 14th Amendment?
Yeah, no, I don't. I think the voters should decide whether it's us in primaries being put on the ballots or Donald Trump in a primary or general election being put on a ballot. If we think democracy is on the line, we should actually participate in democracy. We should support democracy. Now, but I want people to understand the 14th Amendment is a complicated issues in both Section 1 as it applies to me, Section 3 as it applies to Donald Trump. Well, let the courts decide that.
Let's be clear on with regard to you, right? You were born in Turkey.
That's right.
And so there's a question about whether you're even eligible to run for president. The 14th Amendment does talk about no person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of the Constitution shall be eligible to the office of president. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained to the age of 35 years, etc. So what is...
I tell you what, I was wrong.
What?
It does not explicitly rule out that you have to be born in the United States or a citizen of the United States, which means that I could become adoption. Which is when?
Well, he was not here when the Constitution was signed.
Oh, well, neither was anyone born after it.
Well, yeah, they're natural born. You're either natural born or you're here when the Constitution was signed, right? Because even back then they were trying to stop immigrants.
But if they've ruled that he can run, then that's irrelevant. That means that people
they're challenging
naturalized. Okay. That'll be very interesting to watch.
Yes, so that's Article 2, Clause 5. The 14th Amendment amended that, and it says all persons born or naturalized have due process and equal rights. And the way that American jurisprudence has gone so far is that the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause has protected classes. That is race, gender orientation, and
interesting.
Protects discrimination based on national origin.
Do you think it would be discrimination to keep you off?
100%. It's
What an interesting argument. You know what? I think this has legs. I'm surprised this hasn't happened before. I think this has legs. I support his candidacy. If nothing else, just to solidify this ruling.
Well, if anything, it's going to solidify it against the ruling.
Well, yeah.
And then somebody better than him who we actually want to get elected won't be able to run.
True.
To challenge it.
But we'll see.
Constitutional discrimination. We went to district court in South Carolina. The judge said it was one of the best argued cases. It was a really close call. We're appealing to the circuit court. And Dan, every civil rights case, we demand equality. We demand equality until the courts give it to you. And that is exactly what's going to happen.
Congressman Phillips, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had run as a Democrat. He's now an independent. He's
Isn't that funny?
15% or so far. As someone who supports ballot access, do you support his run as an independent?
I think any American who desires to run for public office should have the chance to do so. And I want to answer two questions at once. You just asked about Donald Trump on the ballot. I was trapped in the House chamber on January 6th. I'll say the quiet part out loud. Donald Trump inspired an insurrection. Every one of my colleagues in the Senate and House know it. We tried to prosecute him, and we failed. Do I think the Democratic Party should pursue legal channels to beat Donald Trump? No. The same way they shouldn't pursue the same channels to keep us off the ballot. We should let American voters be the judge and jury.
It's funny because they're like, no, we wouldn't justify it for Trump because we're also supposed to be on there. We're also leeches on the system.
Listening to people better, frankly, than I think the president is. And yes, he should be able to access the ballot. He shouldn't have to spend $10 to $15 million to be on the ballot for someone getting that kind of support. No more than any of us have.
Nah, fuck him. He's a billionaire. He can pay for it. He can afford it.
From Skip from New Jersey, who asks this question.
An election as critical as this one, when you are inevitably unable to get enough votes to
New
secure
Jersey. Nice
the
fucking
nomination
Christmas
as
decorations there,
candidate
buddy.
for president, will you commit here and now tonight to not running as a third-party candidate, as third-party candidates never win?
Well, first of all, I don't have any problem saying I'm not going to run as a third-party candidate, but I have a problem with the question. First of all, that's just a DNC narrative. She inevitably will lose. If I inevitably lose, it's because they are keeping me off the ballot. It's because they are smearing me. It's because they are mocking me from the.
They're allowed to smear you.
It's because they are doing all the shenanigans that they are doing. So then they create this narrative. Well, you can't win, so why are you doing this? And you better give us a loyalty test.
Bro, her forehead is crinky. Like the veins are popping out in her forehead. She's really upset about this.
Will he support us? This idea of the DNC just creating these concocted narratives to anoint. There's nothing in the U.S. Constitution that gives incumbents an anointment. I am old enough to remember when Eugene McCarthy and Bobby Kennedy Sr. ran against Lyndon Johnson.
Senior.
I remember. No one considered it weird. We just considered it democracy. And no one said to Bobby Kennedy and Eugene McCarthy, no, do you promise? Be good, boys and girls. No.
Okay, we need a layoff. Can we cut back, Mary? Can we cut back her Adderall prescription, guys?
I sped up the footage. It's at 1.25.
Congressman Phillips, you had mentioned the border before. The border continues to be flooded with migrants trying to cross into the United States. Some doing it through the formal legal process, many others doing it illegally. President Biden now considering stricter asylum restrictions by, among other things, putting a cap on the number of asylum applications. Let me start with you on that. Do you support President Biden on that?
I think we are so misguided in how we're looking at this problem, Dan. The solution to me is very simple. We have a very broken asylum system. Most of the migrants coming to the U.S. are trying
the thing is that the way that the way that it's going down, like it's not shocking that restrictions are going to be coming, but Biden playing the game right now, he's playing it so they can ask for a lot and he can push a lot back towards them.
Yes.
So the way that it's shaping up right now, you could potentially see a massive deal that's going to mean that people are going to fucking die at the border and human rights are going to be abused at the border, but there'll be like other policies that will like support the, you know, the liberal world order. So it depends on, you know, how much you value human beings and like, you know, because not everything, you know, you can just look at like the Republicans, you know, basically killing people, but there's like always a balance. Somebody dies.
They pay Mexican cartels all their money.
No, they don't.
They're processed. They're dumped in the streets of El Paso with no money, no chance to work. And then we have this massive problem, including in New York City. What would I do? Force the filing of asylum cases in countries of origin. We should build asylum campuses next to our embassies or our consulates to keep people safe, adjudicate the cases there. If they qualify, we bring them to the United States. We mitigate this whole mess. And then
because the people who actually need asylum are going to fucking think about how stupid this is. Applying for asylum while you're in your own country, right? The people who actually need asylum are going to die there.
Yeah,
the rest of the people are going to not be eligible for asylum. Fuck
the
off,
ones
bro.
that are running. That's the reason.
Mexico has literally come and said, "Hey, we'll be." You know how like Europe does the like secondary country thing. Like you have to go live in this country for a certain amount of years and then you can come here. Like Mexico literally is like, "We'll handle that for you. We'll be the intermediate country."
Yeah,
and not just here, but also in the Caribbean because we have a fucking navy. While your navy is in the fucking Gulf Coast, ours is in the Gulf of Mexico. We can patrol all these islands. We'll handle everything. But no, let's just ignore fucking Mexico.
It's called problem solving. What we're talking about right now is politics, and that's why we are so...
Mr. Uyghur, that's a form of remain in Mexico that Congressman Phillips is talking about. Do you support that? And what do you make of President Biden considering limiting the number of asylum applicants?
Yeah, I think it's a terrible idea. I think it's a concession to Donald Trump. It's not to say that there isn't a problem at the border. There is. There are different ways to fix it. So I have a variation of what Dean is saying there. I would send an army of judges to the border because the number one issue is processing the asylum claims quicker. And so, and the other thing that you have to do is you have to stop the flow of the migrants. And how can you do that?
Okay,
by doing a Marshall Plan for Latin America.
This is
hold on.
We don't have
pause. No. We got to stop. We got to address this first thing. His asylum case processing. First of all, almost everyone coming through on asylum claims are not actually asylum seekers, right? We know this. So that would just mean it would speed up deportations. All he's doing there is code for, I would speed up and make more deportations. That's all he said.
Japan and Turkey and Greece because we get a Marshall Plan and their economies grew and they became our strongest allies and our strongest friends. We could do the same thing in Latin America. Right now, Venezuela is a disaster. That is why so much more people are coming to the border.
Oh my God.
A lot of them are coming from Venezuela, which they didn't used to. If we
this guy's such a fucking idiot. Just bring up Mexico's fucking proposal. It literally, Venezuela is part of their fucking proposal package. So they don't like do any research about they're just another type of fucking elite racist who doesn't give a fuck of anything south of the fucking United States border.
Being Trump.
So, Ms. Williamson, let me give you another one of our
Mexico's about to have a female president, by the way.
This is David from
There's no way AMLO's successor.
Over 73,000 people in the U.S. have died from fentanyl overdoses.
Oh God, here we go.
Smuggling fentanyl into the U.S. are illegal U.S. citizens. My question is, how will you solve the fentanyl crisis?
Well, first of all, and I do commend the president.
I'm going to shoot drug dealers. I'm going to arm Americans. I actually like the Philippines policy where he went out and he shot drug dealers, and I'm going to get assault weapons into everyone's hands, and we're going to go out and we're going to hunt down the drug dealers on the streets, and then we're going to make a Christmas video that's like talking about how we're going to slit the drug dealers' throats.
Chemicals, but I actually think that what we ought to do is to decriminalize drugs. I think we should end.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
The problem in any way, it has exacerbated it. We spent $1 trillion on the war on drugs. When I was in
taxes
college, we had 300,000 people in prison. We now have 2.3 million. And
pardon all nonviolent drug crimes.
Prisoners are nonviolent drug offenders.
Yes,
raising their children. Why do I mention this? Because once we decriminalize drugs, once we end the war on drugs, and take that $100 billion that we spend a year, and let's spend a fraction of that every year on a network of recovery options. I don't want a drug czar. I want a recovery czar. We're going to help addicts recover. What's then going to happen? We are going to
too bad she's not actually running because I would vote for that.
Taking away their black market. This will give us the bandwidth and the resources after the real drug that is the
Congressman Phillips,
and that is fentanyl.
You talked about sort of legal.
That was the first time somebody actually
filing
fucking
claims for asylum, etc.
Seriously.
David from Texas has a separate question. Says the southern border is
Shit
clearly
killed
a
my
national
roommate,
security
man.
problem. Addressing it cannot wait for Congress to fix immigration policies. What do you
He
propose
wasn't even
to
like
stop
using,
the
you know,
unmanageable
just did so much
illegal
damage to his
crossings
organs
into
and
the United
shit.
States?
I think he's right.
Yeah.
And as executive of the United States of America, your foremost responsibility is to protect America. We spend $1 trillion a year right now overseas with our Pentagon, Dan.
So what's the solution?
The solution is to be an executive and solve the problem at the border. We need buffer zones.
He's like 23, has like double kidney failure.
The right barriers, the right technology, and the right trained people. We need to change our asylum law. And I agree with Cenk. We are so misguided in how we invest our foreign aid budget. We do need a Marshall Plan. He's absolutely right, because
what we're seeing maybe you should talk to Mexico.
What is coming when people start fleeing famine and war and lack of water? We are going to have mass migration waves that we are ill prepared for. And the executive of the United States should be paying attention to the border immediately, and he can, and he's not.
Everyone's going to stick around. You got a lot more to get to, including the economy, and we're going to talk about an issue that may be tough for some Democrats.
Really pissed me off.
To anoint President Biden.
The ignorance of Mexican
We're here
policy.
with three-term Congressman Dean
Yeah,
Phillips, the Young Turks founder Cenk Uygur, and author and 2020 presidential candidate Marianne Williamson.
Hey, they finally introduced
in America. Police departments are
they introduced them 30 minutes in.
Problems with recruiting, low morale in the wake of the George Floyd case and the protests that ensued. Many big cities moved to defund the police, or as they said, reallocate resources.
Yep, and it didn't happen.
Now, many of the same cities are reversing course, including San Francisco, D.C., Portland, Oregon, Minneapolis, L.A. Congressman,
it never happened.
The defund the police movement was a mistake.
I think the name was a mistake.
Okay,
I come from
hang on.
where George Floyd was murdered.
We're pulling up the special graphic. We got to pull up the special graphic to make people understand what's going on here. Here it is, the special graphic. All right, this is, the cycle of authority, right? You go appeasement. See, it's the appeasement after the repression, which was the protests, they cracked down on appeasement, right? Power concentration. Fuck! Oh, man, we fell into it again. Every time it works.
A city in which we mistook quiet for peace. Biggest problem, I think.
It's almost like they have like a playbook that they use against us, and like the local news keeps the population dumb on these tactics.
Yeah.
Gated against the black community in this country is horrifying, and we have to acknowledge it. Defunding the police is not the answer.
Fuck off.
Better trained cadets.
Funding the here we go. Fun Cop City. Fuck yourself.
Yes. 21st century strategies to improve life.
We got to say something?
Nothing. No.
Hey, so the police are not burdened with this nonsense. I'm a white man. I've never had to have the talk with my doctor.
Right.
The talk about driving at night.
You're also rich.
Come home at night. We have to start being empathetic and understand that slogans like that work against all of us, particularly the communities that need the most protection.
Mr. Uygur, in 2020, you had tweeted, "I'm now supporting defund the police 100%." Then 2 years later, you said, "Will people who defund the police slogan admit they were wrong? It was wildly counterproductive framing." Where do you stand today?
Yeah, you're actually missing one more. In the beginning, I hated the slogan. And the tweet that you showed first was my reaction, my frustration with policing in this country, saying, for God's sake, are you guys ever going to change this? But my initial instinct of the slogan being terrible was correct. And I came back to that position because it doesn't work. Because what it leads people to think is that you're going to do no policing. That is not what anyone's in favor of. We want fair policing, not no policing. Of course you need police. Of course you need to protect them. What are progressives for? They're for justice for the working class, the middle class, that suffer crime.
I'm still waiting for somebody to throw out some of my gang proposals.
But we never changed the culture of policing in this country. That's the number one problem. You know what the saying is: better to
the
be
culture of policing
carried out by 6. Every police department says that.
Accountability, bro. Get the unions out.
Shoot first. Who cares about the citizens? Better to protect yourself than to protect the citizens. That is the exact opposite of what cops should do.
We can't understand you. You're yelling too much.
In both directions for the citizens and to protect them.
I see you nodding, Ms. Williamson, but it sounds like what Mr. Uygur is saying is that very often, too often, the police are the bad guys. And that's certainly terrible morale among police officers around the country if the president of the United States is talking about how horrible our police are.
Oh, we have to get beyond that sophomore conversation.
I think we need to stop framing it that policemen are. See, what we need to do is we need to be honest about what police are. This whole like serve and protect, right? We need to be on. We need to start making like people understand that the police are not your friend. They're there in service of the state, not the people. And when they're talking to you, they want you to think they're your friend because that's a tactic that the state is using to get evidence against you.
training, and as Junk was just saying, the culture. Our police, if you look at how our police are trained compared to, let's say, a country, some of the European countries, where people spend much more time in training, 2 years as opposed to what might be 6 weeks here, and are taught to de-escalate. Not we go lethal force.
Let's use the same tactics that they use in France because we're the same fucking country.
Some of our police forces by white supremacist gangs. We've got to stop pretending to the American people what the American people, particularly Black Americans, know. And I know that the majority of our policemen are very, very fine men and women, but that doesn't mean that we're not supposed to address the very, very dark forces that are going on in our police forces around this country. No American mother, as Black mothers do in this country today, have to be afraid that if they ask their son to go to this corner store and get a quart of milk, that he might not come home alive. This is so far beyond how much money we spend. It's about what our police really are doing.
Well, I want to follow up with you on a somewhat related issue. You have advocated for reparations for slavery. You've pushed for $200 billion to $500 billion to be paid to descendants of slaves. Where are you going to get that money from, number one? And number two, reparations is not
military
budget issue more broadly. In a general election, if you are the Democratic candidate, won't that be a terrible issue for you?
First of all, I'm not running to be popular.
You're not running to win then?
Oh, I am running to win. You know, there's a difference between the American people, the goodness, the decency, and the nobility of the American people, and what the political elite thinks is what's going on out there. I've spoken to many all-white audiences and gone through a little history lesson. Slavery began in 2016. You have almost 250 years of slavery, followed for the most part by another 100 years of institutional suppression of Black people in the American South. 350 years. That's a lot of kicking. And if you've kicked someone that long, you owe it to do more than stop kicking. You owe it to them to say, help me get back up. Now, I also want to point out that once we close the wage gap between...
Did she say slavery began in 2016? Did I?
No.
It was
1619.
Oh, okay.
$1 billion.
Congressman Phillips, do you support reparations?
I'll tell you, if this country doesn't wake up to the fact that we have an obligation to repair the injustice that was done to African Americans, to the descendants of slaves, we are out of our minds.
I think there's an easy answer to this question.
Acre and a mule.
I think the easy answer is that you will allow court cases to be open. You will allow the people to sue the state. Right? And then you would have lawyers take then class action lawsuits.
Yes.
And they can be denied in a court of law if the state sees so.
Yep.
So
I'm going to use a UBI
Start
program,
there.
Universal Basic Income program, in the lowest income census tracts in America that will benefit descendants of slaves disproportionately, but also white people and Latino people and all kinds of people, because I think we should be preparing for what is coming, the AI revolution. Here's the second proposition.
Oh, God.
So establish what I call American Dream accounts, where the federal government endows every baby born in this country with $1,000 in an account that is invested over time. When you graduate high school, you get it, and that will start closing the racial wealth gap in this country in miraculous ways.
Yeah, because it won't mean shit. It won't mean shit for fucking it won't mean shit for fucking people who actually have wealth. But all of that is like a holding investment inside the government itself, right? So like that government then literally can do whatever it wants with that money, right? Because as long as it's back there when that person turns 18, then they can do it. So they can then lean against that money and acquire debt off of it.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what the Australian government's doing with the housing funds.
All these people hit 18 every year, and those cash injections immediately come off, and you get the money anyway from the government gets it anyway, straight off of that. Like it's making skimming from all the interest as it goes on, and then they get to skim it at the end for the taxes as well. It's an infinite money glitch for the government.
$1,000 in an account that is invested over time. When you graduate high school, you get it, and that will start closing the racial wealth gap in this country in miraculous ways.
The thing is that we need less vehicles in this country.
Disparities.
But Mr. Uger, that's not reparations that Ms. Williamson is talking about. Do you support reparations as laid out by Ms. Williamson?
So with reparations, there's two factors. So number one, should we do it? And I was really struck by what Marianne said when she ran last time on a debate stage. She said, a debt is owed. And that's just a fact. 400 years of free service. That's just not fair. So if it happened to anyone, people would say a debt is owed.
I don't like the rhetoric of that it's just not fair, because then it's kind of like, womp womp, oops. It's like, it's an atrocity, bro. It's just not, it's not fair. No, bro. Atrocity. It's like,
it's like saying that if they were paid appropriate wages, that the treatment is justified.
Yeah, like
it's exactly the same as saying that a speeding fine is it's legal speeding at a cost, right?
Yeah,
it's just that. It's the same fucking idea.
Like,
so it's just justifying the treatment had they paid them properly, which is fucked up.
Typical
to execute
capitalist.
reparations. So how black, how white? What if you're a quarter black? Does that mean you pay reparations because you're 3/4 white, or you get reparations because you're a quarter black?
Bro.
So my point is, there is a way to do this, and it could be a baby fund. It could be lower interest rates on houses to build wealth for African American families. Because right now, the average African American family starts with 10% of the wealth of white families. We can make a difference.
I know this is an important issue for you. 15 seconds. Though.
Okay. Over 20 years, the disbursement of $1 trillion. If I owe you money, I don't get to tell you how to spend it. A council of black elders from all across culture, politics,
the council of black elders. But that's some shit that I literally have thrown out before, you know?
Yeah.
I've literally said this where I build the acai, but with like black elders.
Right, but I don't think either Mr. Uygur or Congressman Phillips support that.
Well, no, I don't. But if I could have 15 seconds, white families in America have about 6 times the wealth of black families in America.
Oh my God, guys!
Is created equal. The only reason this is not equal is because of policies over much time. So the way to do this is close the racial wealth gap. That is something that conservatives and
it's got legs.
There's no downside to it, really, at the end of the day. The downside is that Republicans are going to cry about it because they can make it as a wet issue about how white people aren't getting it. But white people are getting it.
Yeah.
Liberals.
Everyone's going to stick around. A lot more to cover with these 3 candidates. Presidential forum with... Three-term Congressman Dean Phillips, author and 2020 presidential candidate Marianne Williamson, and media entrepreneur Cenk Uygur. Thanks to all of you again. Let's talk the economy. On a technical scale, it seems to be improving. 5 straight quarters of overall growth. The U.S. labor market ended 2023 on a high note, adding more jobs than expected. Unemployment rate considered low for about 2 years. President Biden is crediting what he's calling Bidenomics. But most Americans aren't feeling it.
Actually, sir, he did not coin that term. He appropriated it from the people who were attacking him and using it, just like how Obamacare was appropriated. Maybe if the conservatives stopped handing Biden W's, he wouldn't have terms like that.
President's handling of the economy, 67% disapprove. Ms. Williamson's statistics are one thing, but Americans also know how it feels in their pocketbooks. Why is there this disconnect?
There's a disconnect because the official narrative is a lie. When they say the economy is doing well, it's doing well for 20% of Americans. But those 20% are like on an island surrounded by a vast sea of economic despair.
True.
The majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, can't absorb a $500 unexpected expenditure. 39% of Americans report skipping meals in order to pay their rent. When we have the highest poverty rate of any advanced democracy, when we have people putting GoFundMe pages up on the internet to pay for life-saving operations, 1 in 4 Americans living with medical debt.
Yeah, but this hasn't changed.
No,
this hasn't changed before, like, or after Biden.
No, and I highly doubt it's going to change.
And Biden specifically said he's going to, like, his policies are mainly for mid to lower class. And he said, and we're talking middle lower, not lower class, because he said build out the middle class.
The place to live. Do you realize the level of rage that they feel in the president? The economy is doing well. You just don't understand.
Well, speaking of rage, this is from a viewer question, Congressman.
Please clap.
Congressman Phillips, Ms. Williamson, and Mr. Uygur are each millionaires. Only one of them, Representative Phillips, has any prior experience as an elected official, only amounting to 3 terms in Congress. How can the candidates relate to the average American or instill confidence in the average voter? And let's focus specifically on
this. Crazy. These questions are better than like any of the questions they gave at the Republican debate.
Yeah.
Well, Christopher, I would say, how can a man who has served his entire professional career since age 27 in Washington, D.C., I think, how can he understand what's going on in this country? If he wasn't so encapsulated in Washington, in the White House, and was out doing what we're doing right now, which is listening to people, he would understand the pain and the heartbreak. People can't afford their lives. Life is unaffordable in America, Dan, and it is the truth. Joe Biden deserves some credit for the macro economy. But as Marianne said,
cut to Hillary Clinton seeing how the average American lives. It's one of the greatest pictures ever taken.
Wait, show me. I don't think I've seen it.
When she discovers the average American. Hang on.
Yeah, you got to show me this. I don't think I actually have seen that. That sounds very funny.
Isn't there like a joke from like what's the Arrested Development where it's like what's like an egg cost now $10? You know, something like that's what the joke is. It's like funnier than that, but like I don't remember.
Okay.
You ready for this? This is so funny.
Ew.
She's
It's just
lost?
a face. She's disgusted.
That their president is telling them everything is okay. So let me tell you this. I've chaired the board of a health system. I've been a regent at a university. I've led businesses. I've started them. I've served in the nonprofit sector, and now I'm a third member of Congress. Believe me, I've been in the real world, unlike most of my colleagues who are running this country right now, who have been encapsulated in a place that is...
What do you think of that? What do you think of
this? That's even better.
Basically starving. I ate Hot Pocket cereal.
Hot Pocket cereal? Could you just say Hot Pocket cereal?
Did he just make that shit up?
I used to eat Hot Pocket cereal. I would
Not
make
the best
cereal Hot Pockets.
Jesus Christ.
Poor and the struggles of being middle class. Absolutely. And so look, on the economy, I'm fair and honest. So Joe Biden did actually a really great job on jobs. So, but what our frustration with Joe Biden is twofold. One is on politics, which I'll get to in a second, but he's terrible at messaging. He doesn't like campaigning. He doesn't like attacking Republicans or Donald Trump. He created twice as many jobs as Donald Trump, more than twice as many. You know how much he's down on the issue of jobs? 19 points. He's losing to Donald Trump by 19 points, where he created twice as many jobs. He's down 24 points on the economy.
Oh,
that is why one of my URLs is Biden is going to lose.com. Biden is going to lose.com. It's so now look.
You were able to buy that?
Yes. Yeah. And and I've also got selfishjoebiden.com. Okay, so because he's got to get out of the race. But I got to say, on the economy, he's also done terrible because they're right. Wages are too low.
I want to get Ms. Williamson one more quick question from a viewer, and then we're going to get the closing statements. This is from Delmar from Nebraska, who says, how do you intend to get our national debt reined in and lowered? We're crushing our children's future. 30 seconds.
I want to answer the one that came before because I think I deserve to. First of all, I'm not a millionaire because I put all this money into this campaign. But
I want to answer the question that you didn't ask me.
Your career activist, as a counselor, I have worked.
Wouldn't it be funny? The guy's just at the stand. He just yells, "No!" I would actually yell, but I don't want to hurt my throat and start coughing. Ron, shut the fuck up! You'll answer the question.
People with life-challenging illnesses who cannot leave their homes. What makes me the person most qualified for this position is that I have been up close and personal with people whose lives were in despair. Where the Biden administration sees economic data, I see human suffering.
I want to give you each a chance for a final remark here. To speak directly to the audience, to tell them why you think that you should be the next president of the United States. Congressman Phillips, why don't you start?
Well, let me say the quiet part out loud on two fronts. First, about me. You just referred to me as a wealthy man.
Is this?
And I got lucky.
Like the good twin of DeSantis?
I have no
like,
idea.
Is DeSantis kind of Bizarro like this guy?
It does kind of look like it, doesn't it?
Wild.
Pursued an ROTC scholarship to attend college and was killed in July of 1969. My mom was 24 and widowed, and we had to live with my great-grandparents for 3 years, at which point I got lucky. My mom remarried and I was adopted into a great family, gave me opportunity, and I busted my tail for the last number of decades to get to where I am. But it shouldn't be a stroke of good luck or the zip code in which you're born in America to do well.
Bro, that's true. You can literally decide, you can literally tell how young somebody's going to die based on their zip code.
Yeah.
And the government does that.
He should exit this race. He should encourage not just the three of us, but a whole stage full of next generation Democrats ready.
I do kind of agree.
Instill hope and optimism again, like this country deserves. He's going to lose to Donald Trump, and he's going to get crushed by Nikki Haley. We're here doing democracy. We're practicing it. Our party's not supporting it, but we hope that you support us in this mission because it is the most existential threat to our future, and it is the legacy I know we can all.
Cenk Uygur, 60 seconds. Your final remarks.
So I'm running because the Democratic Party needs a fighter. We need to go fight Donald Trump. Donald Trump is, in fact, pathetically weak. He has gone bankrupt 6 times. He's a failed businessman. He's a
it would be kind of funny.
Joe Biden, stop taking a nap. Get up and fight. And you don't do that. And that is why I'm worried to death that you are going to lose. You're in the 30s. The Democratic candidate must win by 5 in order to win the Electoral College. He's down by 8. That means he's down 13 overall. He's losing every single swing state. Part of the reason for that is because he doesn't fight. He doesn't fight us. He doesn't fight Trump. He doesn't fight Republicans. He keeps telling you how they're his friends. Well, they're not my friends. I came here to protect Democratic voters, to protect the average American, and to fight against Trump. That's what my website's cenkforamerica.com. Everybody knows I'm a fighter, and everybody knows if you're going to go up against Trump, you can't do it meekly. You have to actually fight against them. And Joe Biden right now is losing every swing state. That's why I also have Biden is going to lose.com. He's down 14 independents. Democratic Party, turn around right now. We cannot afford to lose to Donald Trump, and apparently Democratic leadership does not mind that, and I do.
Marianne Williamson, your final remarks.
The Democratic Party needs to understand the psychological element of what's going on with Donald Trump. Donald Trump speaks to a part of the human brain that pulls.
We need to use witch spells to attack him. I'm gonna be.
These are my favorite crystals.
I'm the Uber mage. What is Bayonetta? The Umber Witch. I'm the Umber Witch. Only I can destroy Donald Trump.
To say to people we can have
I'm going to need 20 billion
we can
babies.
make an economic U-turn. We can cut the cord with an aberrational chapter that's
and I'm going to cut the cord to the babies.
Massive transfer of wealth.
And they'll give me my power to do my witch magic.
We went from a thriving middle class 50 years ago to a collapsed middle class.
Is this blood
today.
libel?
That's what the Democratic Party needs to promise.
Democrats
and
eat
that
babies.
is why my
I'm fucking better than you.
Inspired and motivated people during times of crisis. You know, Franklin Roosevelt said that the primary responsibility of the president is not administrative, but rather moral leadership. And the
they also put Japanese people in the camps.
In order to be president, they said, you have to have been born here, although, as Cenk will tell you, believe me, it's a living document. You have to have lived here for 14 years, and you have to be 35. They did not say you have to be part of a political elite or a congressman or a senator. They were leaving it to every generation. What do you think is the skill set that will be the right skill set to face the challenges of this time? Someone who can say to the American people, we're going to start over, an economic bill of rights, a Department of Peace.
We're going to start over, global communism with the World Economic Forum.
That's how we're going to beat Donald Trump.
Thank you very much. And look, we are sorry that President Biden did not want to be here to be part of this. In what we view as an important discussion. I said this at the top, I'll say it again. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to agree with anything.
Yeah, this sure was important.
It's just about
it made us money, and we like that because we're barely existing on the internet now. Look at how small my podium is. What is this? Is this just a stool that we raised up really high? I don't even get an actual podium. What is this? I can only fit a cup on it.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?